Spurs helping Arsenal win the league. Who would have thought it? Tottenham Hotspurs 1, Manchester City 0, and was a cracking game to end the game week. A game which affected both the title race and the top 4. Spurs desperately needed those 3 points against Man City. They now go within a point of Newcastle, however, having played a game more. And Manchester City remained 5 points behind Arsenal, again crucially having played a game more than them. And it was a game in which Manchester City always have a terrible record against Spurs, and Sky Sports were milking the fact that Man City hadn't scored a goal at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And going into it, you kind of thought, okay, maybe Spurs could do something. But I kind of expected City to win the game, to be completely honest, because if you look at the encounter only a couple of weeks ago, Spurs were 2-0 up and then got destroyed by Man City in that second half. And you thought to yourself, no Antonio Conte, City rumblings kind of going on with Cancelo leaving, and if Pep Guardiola calling out his players and the fans. But he thought, oh no, they're going to have a response, they're going to turn up. And they absolutely did not. It was an interesting team by Pep Guardiola. I thought initially they were going to play back 4, which they ended up playing in the second half. But Rico Lewis is kind of playing left side of the midfield. They're kind of playing a back 3 with Mahrez high on the right, Grealish high on the left. 2 up top with Haaland and Alvarez, and Bernardo Silva kind of like in a 10, trying to find space between the midfield and defence. And they've done it a lot this season, especially after the World Cup, and it hasn't really quite clicked for them. I think they play much better when they play the 4-3-3, and I'm not sure if this is Guardiola overthinking, or this is going to be the new way that Man City play, but it definitely didn't work, and you could see in the second half that he had to change it. And Spurs were amazing, I thought, in this game. I think initially going into having Bentancur and Kulusevski playing, they definitely missed those when those two have been out injured, and you could tell today they were amazing. And Spurs matched up Man City man for man almost. Bernardo Silva, who I thought would be more of a threat than he was, trying to find that space in the pockets between the defence and midfield. And Erik Dyer was pushing out or was man marking him when City had the ball deep in their own half. It was interesting to see because I expected Spurs to sit back even further than they did and try and counterattack them from a lot deeper position. But it made so much sense that Spurs were trying to win the ball high up and they were trying to counterattack closer to Man City's goal. And I think that's kind of more of the attacking press that Spurs fans have been calling for. And you can see from the goal itself, I think it's Rodri who tries to pass the ball into Rico Lewis, and Højbjerg just pinches the ball off him and gets there first. And then off balance plays a great pass to Kane, and Kane just slots it in the bottom corner like he does, now becoming Spurs' all-time record goal scorer. And I think he definitely deserves it. He comes under a lot of stick, Harry Kane, I think, especially because of the fact that he's English, and the English media don't help the fact that they hype him up so much, and so naturally everyone else tries to give him stick and say he's not that great. But honestly, Harry Kane is an amazing striker and very underrated, especially this season, because of the fact that I think he's the second highest goal scorer in the league behind Haaland. And if it wasn't for Haaland being so far in front, everyone would be talking about Kane as being the man. Everyone would be like, oh, United need to sign him, Chelsea need to sign him, City need to sign him if they didn't have Haaland. But Kane definitely underrated, and what a shift he put in today. I thought the Man City team was a bit disappointing in that first half. I think Haaland was dropping so deep to try and get the ball, which I think is unusual for him, especially because if you think about it at the beginning of the season before the World Cup, everyone talking about how he would only have 5-6 touches, but all be in and around the penalty area, and it would all be about his final product and trying to finish, where he was definitely trying to get more involved in the play. And almost Julian Alvarez was the one who was furthest forward Man City, which I thought was a bit of a mistake, especially because Haaland is so dangerous and he makes those runs in behind. But Man City just didn't want to try and find him today. And if you look at his heat map from the first half, Haaland was deeper than Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, almost as deep as Grealish, and next to Rico Lewis and Rodri, which is not where you want your main man who scored 25 odd goals this season already. And I thought it was a very weird setup for Man City, and they changed it in the second half, where they went to a flat back 4, Rico Lewis went to left back, where I thought he was going to play the entire game, but for some reason didn't in the first half. They kind of played like a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, and again it didn't really suit Man City. It was a bit all over the place. And then Guardiola takes off Mahrez in the second half for De Bruyne, who I don't know what's going on with Pep and Man City. The fact that Kevin De Bruyne has been dropped as well. He's the best player, and you can see that when he came on, they were all trying to find him the ball. It didn't quite work for him in the second half when he came on today, but there's definitely issues going on in City, and all of this brings me to the fact that I think City are dropping off a little bit this season, and it's Arsenal started to lose still. I know Arsenal lost to Everton. I watched the game. I've got my reaction to that game up on the channel if you want to go check it out. But it was just weird. I was going to say interesting, but it's just weird of the fact that I don't know why he's trying to change the system, which has worked so well for Man City for so long. Trying to go to this 3 at the back. Maybe Guardiola feels like he doesn't have the players anymore. Maybe if he doesn't trust Ake playing left back, so he's playing Rico Lewis there. And Kyle Walker is the only senior right back of the club now. And they've really left themselves short. And of course I understand with Cancelo leaving that, no player is bigger than the club and no player is better than the club. But gotta think about it. Have they lost the title in the January transfer window? Arsenal have reinforced and, definitely improved them. But have Man City lost it? And it was so impressive by Spurs, and I think you've got to give them a lot of credit because they've got a lot of stick this season, especially against when Spurs played Arsenal, and Arsenal dominated them in the first half and Spurs didn't even lay a finger on them. To the team they're playing now, and I think that's what's frustrating for Spurs fans is the fact that you can see the shoots of what Antonio Conte and the Spurs side can do. However, they don't do it often enough, and they made a good first step in trying to change that, and I think going forward this should be the way Spurs play, a bit more on the front foot. And it'll be interesting to see how they play against, I think they got Leicester next. And Leicester put 4 past Aston Villa on Saturday. So let's see what's going to happen. I mean, obviously they're going to be without Romero, who's going to be a big loss. Thankfully it's only for 1 game rather than 3. Because Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Davinson Sanchez, today 2 of the 3 did really well. Davinson Sanchez obviously came on quite late, but Romero is their best defender, and I think he's going to be such a crucial player going forward, and they need him in every game. And to be missing even just 1 game against Leicester, it definitely gives Leicester a bit of a boost, especially with Jamie Vardy and Iheanacho and Maddison and the likes. You can really tear them up. And I thought I wanted to focus on Jack Grealish today a bit because he gets a lot of stick, and I think arguably rightly so, because for the price tag he's come in and what he's actually delivered in terms of goals and assists and his returns, he hasn't been good enough. However, today he really was amazing. He was City's best player. He was the only one that really looked like he was going to do something. His battle on the City's left, Spurs' right, against Emerson Royale was really a great battle to watch. And I think Emerson Royale just edged it in the fact that Spurs won and Man City didn't. But he was the one who looked like he was going to do something, running at them, running at players, driving through the midfield and defence. And ultimately, he's the one who gets Romero sent off in the end because of the fact of how well he did, going to the right and then feinting his left. And maybe he stuck his leg out a little bit, but he got him sent off, and he was definitely City's best player. And he needs to be playing left wing of a back when City play a back 4 rather than playing kind of left wing back, because he definitely had a lot of defensive responsibility in that first half, and I think that kind of hindered him, and he needed to get more forward and get Emerson Royale going backwards rather than forwards in that game. And going forward now, I think Spurs, can they get top 4? I think if they carry on playing the way they did, definitely. I think they need to keep the key players fit. They need to keep that front 3 fit, who were immaculate today. And Højbjerg and Bentancur behind them were amazing as well. And you can definitely see with Spurs' best 11 out on that pitch, how good a team they are. Obviously, the issue for them is going to be when they come up against a team who's going to play with a low block, what are they going to do? Because there's always a question mark about Spurs. Do they lack creativity? I think Kulusevski is a great creative threat down for them on their right. However, when he's missing, they really lack that. And sometimes, obviously, they had the game against Crystal Palace where they beat them 4-0. And then you can say, okay, Crystal Palace are defending deep. Yeah, that's fair enough. But too often this season, that's the kind of fixture in which they struggle against. So they need to keep going. They can definitely do it. I think Newcastle, their draw against West Ham will give Spurs a bit of confidence as well. Are Newcastle struggling to score a few goals? And can they keep that clean sheet record keep going? City, I think they're playing Arsenal in 2 weeks, and that's going to be a massive game at the Emirates. And you're going to see a game they have to win, because although Arsenal lost to Everton, as long as Arsenal win the next game against Brentford, you kind of go, okay, fine, that was a blip, and then confidence is reassured and everything's back to normal. But City with the fixtures, everyone's saying, "Oh, all they need is going to run, and then that's City back in the title race." But they don't look like being the team of last season or the season before, where they won the league, and they're not showing the same signs. They're not showing the same effort and determination. They're being outworked as well, which is an underrated factor of Pep Guardiola's Man City team. No team outworks them, and at the moment it looks like every team's outworking them. And that defense is a bit leaky. They need John Stones back. They need Ruben Dias back. They need Laporte back. I think Laporte was on the bench, but they need to be starting games. They need to be match fit because Man City need the best team out there. And Pep Guardiola has a lot of things to try and figure out. Ultimately, if they win the Champions League, no one's going to care about the league. But at this moment in time, you've got to be close enough to give yourself a chance of the league at least, because we all know Champions League is competition. Who knows what's going to happen? They can lose the game in 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the tie's gone and they're out. So lots of punt for Man City and Pep Guardiola. A lot of praise for Spurs and Antonio Conte's men. And obviously we wish Antonio Conte well wherever he was watching the game. I'm sure he was. But Spurs on the up, doing Arsenal a favour, but they need to do themselves that favour as well.